Hey y'all. So today I'm going to show you guys how to protect your plants from a freeze. I live in Houston, Texas, which is zone 9, and we do not see cold weather that often, but tonight we are going to have a freeze. It's going to go down to 19 degrees, which is very uncommon for us. And so I'm going to show you guys which plants you need to protect, how you can cover them, and which plants you need to bring into the garage or inside the house. First thing you want to do is put all of your potted plants that you know will not survive a freeze, for sure. Put those in the garage. I have a bunch of citrus, which will not survive a freeze. They are easy to move because they're in pots. I'm gonna go ahead and stick them in the garage where they will be completely protected. So that's the first thing. Move all your plants that are in pots in the garage. All right, so the second thing I would suggest you guys do is move all of your potted plants. If you don't have room in your garage, move them to a safe, protected place outside. I have it right next to my house, and there's 2 other fences on that side, and there's a house right next to me. So they're kind of protected a little bit more, but I'm gonna go ahead and add an extra layer. I'm gonna add a frost-free material that is gonna just be like a buffer. It's gonna take the edge off of whatever freeze it is. Now, the frost-free is water resistant. That's why I suggest using that over sheets. And they make it in these long strips, so you don't have to use like 20 different sheets and pin them together or tie them with rubber bands. I've done that. It's horrible. I got the frost-free and I said, this is amazing. I'm gonna do this every single year. And you can reuse the material. So it's like 10 foot by 30 foot. So you can cut them smaller if you need to, but I just generally use the whole big piece and sometimes fold it over if I need to add extra protection. And I use rocks to hold down the material. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna cover it over and just add that extra protection. Now it is see-through, so that's allows the sun come through because we're gonna have a freeze for 3 days. So I wanna make sure that they have the best experience out of this freeze as possible. That way they can bounce back real quick. I'm not gonna have any issues. And I'll probably keep them here. I'll take off after the freeze, I'll take off the cover, but I'm gonna probably just keep them here for the rest of the winter. That way when the next freeze happens, I don't need to move all of them all over again. So that's what I suggest for step number 2, protecting the outdoor plants in pots. All right, so the next thing you guys wanna look for is any small tree that's in the ground. You wanna protect that. So especially fruit trees, citrus, and palm trees, anything that's tropical. If you can't get it in the garage or in a protected place, you want to protect it. Now, anything that's grafted, like citrus trees, you want to protect that graft. Now, wherever that graft is, if that dies, which citrus trees struggle about 35 degrees and below, so you want to get it protected. So wrap that base with oh gosh, I'm not sure what it's called, but I'll link a picture up below, but it's a wrap that you protect the base, and it's like insulation. Or you know what, you could use a pool noodle. That also works really well. I did that a couple years. Or insulation piping. Just cut out whatever you need, stick it around the trunk, tape it up, boom, done. But since this is a citrus tree, what I'm gonna do is I'm going to use a frost-free protectant tree cover. I'm going to cover the entire thing because it is small. I'm gonna go ahead and cover the entire thing, and I'm gonna mulch up the base. That way it's protected the ground and the top. So that's the first thing I'm gonna do to protect this tree. So the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm going to look around and find anything that I have that's newly sprouted or will be damaged by frost, because anything that's damaged by frost will probably die in the freeze. So I have carrots right here. I have a few other sweet peas, and I have some beets and stuff. I'm going to add a buffer to them. So I save all my leaves in fall. I'm gonna add a buffer. I'm gonna put them all over here, and then I'm gonna put my frost-free material on top of that, and then put rocks to weigh it down so it doesn't blow away. But the leaves will act as an insulator and keep these carrot tops from dying back. I definitely don't want to stunt their growth this winter, so I'm gonna protect them from the hard freeze. So basically I've covered or top dressed my blueberry plants, my fig plants. As you can see, I gave it a good foot, or added extra 6 inches. I would wrap the top, but I ran out of covers. That's a citrus tree I covered, and it's got some exposed, so I'll take some more leaves and I'll cover the base, and then I'll add more mulch on top of it to keep all the leaves down, and that should do well for that grapefruit. I did. And some of these blueberries, they're to zone 7, so they'll be fine without any extra. That's a Asian pear, so it's gonna be perfectly fine. There's another fig, and so on. There's some peach trees, nectarines, apricots. There's some roses and some other plants. I just added extra mulch on top to kind of cozy them in for the winter. And I'm gonna walk over here. So over here, I have one more thing to do. My husband went to go get some more leaves from his dad. So I have a bunch of spinach and lettuce planted right here. They're babies. So I added extra leaves, and he's gonna get some more leaves so I can add another like 6 inches or so. Well, maybe like 3 or 4. It's light layer. But then I'll put this cover over him and rock it down. Those should be settling. Over here, I just added more leaves to my onion and garlic little patch. There's some roses I covered up. Over here, there's a butterfly bush, some cilantro in the ground. I'm not sure if covering those with leaves is going to actually protect it, but I'm going to try. I don't want to have to reseed those. But over here, I have another citrus tree, and I covered it, mulched it up, and I put the rock down to kind of weigh it down. But over here, I've got a bunch of baby carrots and such, lettuces and beets and things, and I just covered. I don't have enough frost-free sheets, so I just covered with a bunch of leaves, which I'll add more to make sure it's completely covered. Right here I have sweet peas, or sugar snap peas. So I added a layer of leaves on top, and then I covered it over with this, and that should be fine. These pink, can't remember what they're called. Those generally die in the winter, but they came back last year for me when I covered them, so I'm gonna add some more leaves and hope that they come back. Here is a orange tree. Did the same thing, covered it, mulched it. Over here I have a bunch of spinach and lettuce popping out, so I gotta finish covering those with the rest of the leaves that my husband's gonna go grab. And over here I top dress. I just planted these, so I want to make sure that they're well mulched and covered. There's the blueberry and the blueberry. That's a peach tree that I'm gonna save. Or I added more mulch just in case. 2 other ones that I planted a few months ago in the middle of summer. Kind of stunted their growth. But over here I have another cilantro. There's a Asian pear tree right there. That's gonna be fine. But I have a bunch of little seedlings that I'm protecting with leaves. And over here, this is garlic, and I added a bunch of leaves to it like 2 weeks ago, so that should be fine. Even if the tops die back, the plant will be fine. So that is it for my little tour. Alright, so it's been about a week, a little over a week, since we had our freeze. The first night it got down to 19 degrees, and the next 2 days it was below 24. So I'm gonna give you guys a tour, and I'll show you what I think did well versus what I think I'll do differently next time. Alright, so these are the plants that I have in a protected area. I put the frost-free cover over them, and I want to say they did pretty well. There's a few plants that show no, like my rosemary didn't lose a single leaf, they did fine. Aloe vera did fine. Figs lost their leaves, but that's supposed to happen. So Everything else looks great. They all have like bendable stems. None of them are broken or break, so they're not dead. But I do have peppers right here that I was overwintering. I don't think I'm gonna do that outside again. I'm gonna go ahead and stick them in the garage where they're a little more protected. But overall, I think it went pretty well. All right, so the next thing I'm gonna talk about is these, the method I used to cover all of my young seedlings. Now, I had a bunch of carrots and a bunch of baby spinach and stuff that I covered. I put leaves over them, and then I covered with the frost-free cover. They did well. As you can see, they're all growing back and stuff. But the one thing I will say I do differently is I won't put as much leaves. And the mistake I made was I came out after the freeze and I took the cover off, but I didn't take the leaves off. Big mistake. I think that actually ended up killing some of the seedlings because I didn't have enough sunlight. It was too thick of a layer and they didn't survive. So it's a lot thinner than it was before. So I think I will definitely be changing that method next year. So with all of my citrus trees, they struggle a little bit, and I'm sure they lost all the leaves, so I'm sure I'm gonna have to cut some of the dead branches out, but I think that they will. I had them wrapped enough to where they still will come back. There's one that I wrapped that I noticed some ants climbing into the middle of today, so I probably will end up replacing that fruit tree. But as far as the other ones, and all of my peach, nectarine, plum, perfectly fine. Blueberries were not phased at all. They're just now starting to lose, like turn a little red and lose their leaves. So those are doing great, and I'll turn the camera around and let y'all see everything else. Right here I have tayberries, and they all turned brown, reddish brown, and lost their leaves. The rest of them are kind of like dwindling down. I do need to prop up all of those vines, so I'll rework them once the leaves fall off. I'll post them back and tie them up so that I get nice canes next year. Right here I have some roses right there and there. They didn't do too well. I just put a few leaves over the base, and that one looks fine. It's got green growth coming back. This one does not, and it looks like it's got a whole lot of brown, dark brown stems. So I'm gonna have to see if that comes back or not, but it's not looking great. Here is where I had put all of the leaves and then the cloth or the fabric over them. I left it on too long with all the leaves. It was too deep, and I lost a lot of my little seedlings. You see a bunch of green, but I planted only spinach down here, the 2 rows, and I hardly see them. I see a couple coming up here and there, and then this one had lettuce. And all that little green, that's clover, and I do not want any of that. So I'm gonna have to dig through these again and get rid of all of those green clover and weeds, grass. But see, here on the end, where the sheet wasn't covering it, those are little baby spinaches. So I think next time, I will maybe just use the frost cloth and not any leaves. With my baby spinach that I just threw leaves over, that seemed to work pretty well on both sides. I didn't have a frost cover, but those did the job. I have a little bit of parsley right here that survived. Everything else hit dormancy. I cleaned up a lot of these dead branches that were here, dead sticks and stuff. And there's a few plants that I know were frost hardy. I mean, not frost hardy, they were sensitive. So I'm not sure the big pink ones, if y'all can remember. They were blooming at the time I took right before the frost, but they're all gone. I cut them back and I stuck a bunch of leaves around the base. So hopefully they'll come back. They were very slow to come back last year when I didn't wrap them. So we'll see if they come back. If not, that's fine. I'll replace them. But the spinach and the little baby greens, lettuce that I had in here. Again, same problem. I covered the spinach with too much leaves, and it choked them out. Most of them are gone. I cleared away most of the leaves, and there's a couple of them still on there. But the spinach, the lettuce I had along the edges. You can see a few of those little baby ones. Those weren't covered by any leaves, and they bit to dust. So those were the first thing gone next morning. But yeah, my big peach tree is fine. And I have little oranges, Washington orange. Gonna have to cut out some of those branches, but they look like they still got green growth, so I'll still cover them for the next frost when it comes. But same thing here. I covered it too much, and now, as you can see, they're little partial dead peas. Some of them look like they're getting some more growth on them, but overall I shouldn't have covered that much. I should have given them a little bit more of a chance with the frost to kind of survive on their own. But yeah, so there's a lot of my blueberries. Still doing great. Lost their leaves. Here's my Asian pear. Still doing great. Got lots of new stems for next year. Garlic is doing fantastic in both areas that I planted along here and here. Didn't cover them at all. There was a few leaves, but they did fantastic. No issues. Here's some more of the cilantro. I did not have anything to cover with, just leaves. It's doing fantastic. Alright guys, so that is it for my tour. I will say the biggest thing I learned is to trust my plants. And here in Houston, Texas, we don't hardly ever see a freeze. So when we do, we kind of freak out. And some of the things I knew were frost hardy, I should have just covered a little bit and trusted them instead of trying to overkill them with kindness. I will be continuing to learn as I go, and I'm going to continue to share all the advice and things that I learned here with you guys. So thank you guys for watching. Bye.